I'm Rosie Hanneke, and this is the second video in our literature review series, Database Searching. In this video, we're going to talk about how to search library databases using something called Boolean logic, which I promise isn't as complicated as it sounds. We're going to use that to search all combinations of many search terms all at the same time. Then we're going to talk about accessing full text and using RefWorks to save your sources. And finally, we'll talk about how to know you've found everything on your topic. Remember that no single database contains all of the literature on your topic. Even really large databases like Google Scholar might, in theory, contain everything you need, but they're so large it can be hard to wade through your results to find the good stuff. So you'll need to look in more than one place, which usually means searching 2 or 3 databases. If you don't have databases in mind, you can find recommendations on the Public Health Subject Guide or ask me for advice on where to search. So first, let's talk about how to search those databases once you've picked them. All library databases will recognize Boolean logic or Boolean operators, which is the best way to search. It sounds intimidating, but Boolean logic just refers to 3 words, and, or, and not. So let's take a look at how those work. First, when you connect 2 terms with and, you're telling the database that you only want to see articles where both of those terms appear. If we searched poverty and wellness, you'll only see the overlap of those 2 concepts. Same with social media and health promotion. On the other hand, if you search poverty or wellness, you'll get articles that talk about both concepts, which is that section in the middle of this diagram, but you'll also get articles that only talk about one or the other. They'll only talk about poverty, or articles that only talk about wellness, or gives you more. So you're saying to the database, give me any of it, give me all of it. I want to see everything with any one of these terms in it. Here's another illustration of how AND works. Every time you add another concept with AND, you get fewer results. Here's what it looks like when we search for the intersection of 3 concepts, poverty and wellness and mortality. We'll only get that small section in the middle that has all 3 concepts. Likewise with social media and health promotion and teenagers. Finally, this one's a bit more complicated, but this is the closest example of what your search will look like and how you're actually going to be searching in the databases. We've got the concept of poverty, and then in parentheses, wellness or mortality. So what we're saying is that we want to see articles that all must include poverty and at least one of the terms inside parentheses. So it could be poverty and wellness, poverty and mortality, but we want poverty to appear in every result and at least one or maybe both of those terms inside the parentheses. The only things you really need to remember is that and narrows down your search and or gives you more. Or is what you'll use when you've got more than one term to describe the same concept, for example, teenager or adolescent. It's very important that anytime you use or, put those terms inside parentheses, otherwise the database might get confused. So let's work through an example. Here I am at the library website. If I know the name of the database I want to search, I can just click on Databases, this link here in the center of the screen. Or if I want recommendations, I can go to Subject and Course Guides and then find the subject guide for Public Health. I'll click on Public Health and then again Public Health. And on this first page here, I see a number of recommendations for databases from the more health science focused down to interdisciplinary databases. Right now, I'm going to search Business Source Premier. So using the terms I collected in my initial scoping search of PubMed, I'm going to search social media, and I'm putting that in quotation marks because I only want articles where those 2 words appear right next to each other as a phrase. Social media or social networking or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. So any article that includes at least one of those terms. And then in the second box here, in the second row after and, I'm going to put teen or adolescent. And then in the third box, I want my terms health promotion or wellness or exercise or physical activity. And you see each of my concepts is in its own separate row, connected by and. If I didn't have these separate rows, remember you would just want to use parentheses around each of the concepts. But keeping them separated in these boxes essentially does the same thing. Then I click on search and I get 17 results. So I probably want to go through these 17 and then see if I can change my search around at all. Maybe add more terms with or to get more results and so on. But let's say I want to look at this article number 2. Remember that even when you're searching for articles and you're getting results that you want to save, keep an eye out for these subject terms. These are just like mesh in PubMed. There might be terms here that I want to go back and add into my search. So behavior modification or something like that, health literacy. If I want to access this article, for this one I've got a link right to PDF full text. So I can just click on that and see the full text of the article. If I didn't see that PDF full text link here, as with some of these other results, like this first one, I do see a button that says Find it at UIC. So what I can do is click on that button and it'll open up a new tab which searches all of the UIC journal subscriptions. And if the library has full text in another database, I can just click on View Full Text and it'll open up that article in another window. And at that step you might need to sign in with your UIC Net ID, but you should be able to access the full text. Now sometimes this screen after you click Find it at UIC will say full text is not available electronically. So a lot of times we're in the habit of, if the article we want isn't available full text, we just move on to something else. But when you're doing a literature review, you really want to make sure you get the most important or the best articles on your topic, which, just because UIC doesn't subscribe to that journal doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. You might actually really need to use it. So if you get that message here that says full text is not available electronically, we can still get you almost any article you want for free through interlibrary loan. So you would just scroll down here and click on your library, which is Distance Education Health Sciences or Library of the Health Sciences Chicago. The first time you use this account, you'll have to click First Time Users and set up an account using the number that's on your iCard. If you don't have an iCard, you can call the ID office and they'll give you your library number over the phone. After you go through that step, it's really easy. Just log on here and it'll automatically fill out all the information for the article you just saw. You hit submit and you'll get an email in just a few business days, sometimes sooner than that, which gives you a link to download the article in PDF format. So really don't let the fact that we don't have full text keep you from getting the articles that you need for your literature review. Incidentally, this Find It at UIC button is also why you want to search databases like PubMed and Google Scholar, which are free on the web, but you always want to use the links that are on our website at the library, because that'll give you the Find It at UIC button, which makes it much easier to find full text and request interlibrary loan, especially if you're off campus. So let's say I play around with my search for a while and I get the articles that I want. Here's my Save to RefWorks button up in the bookmark bar of my Chrome browser. If I click this button on this screen, it'll bring up a sidebar here that gives me the titles of all 17 articles on this page. So I can choose to save them all to my RefWorks account, or I can just pick and choose a few individual articles and save those to RefWorks. Now it'll automatically save them into my account. I can go to RefWorks and view them there, but for right now I want to keep searching, so I'll just close this sidebar. That's why I recommend that you install this Save to RefWorks button, because it really makes things really easy and fast to save. And here's just a look at another database. This is Web of Science, which is one of those large multidisciplinary databases. And again, I can get to this from the databases link on the library website or from the Public Health Research Guide. Here I've entered in my search terms just as I did the search in PubMed and in Business Source Premier, except this time I only have one search box, so I'm using parentheses to separate the concepts. And when I do a search in this database, I get over 600 results. So for this particular topic, I might decide that a multidisciplinary or health science database might have better literature than the business database. But you never know, and that's why it's important to check a few different places. After you've searched 2 or 3 databases and saved some articles, if you're anything like me, you might start to wonder if you're missing anything. I get this question all the time: how do I know I've found everything on my topic? Well, there's no magic way to answer that question, but here's what I tell students to do and what I try to do myself. First, you're going to search for articles in databases, but that's just one step. After you get your first batch of articles that you've saved, you're obviously going to read them through and take notes, and then be sure to check the bibliographies at the ends of those articles for relevant citations. A lot of us already do that sort of automatically. A step beyond that is to look up those articles you found in a database like Scopus or Web of Science or in Google Scholar. Those databases will tell you who cited an article since it was published. So since my article was published in the year 2000, who else has cited it? Who's continued that scholarly conversation? And then finally, you can look through individual journals that might be likely to have published articles on your topic to make sure you didn't miss anything with your database searches. So just to say another word about citation tracking, if a literature review is a summary of the scholarly conversation that's happening around your topic, citations are a record of that conversation. So whenever you're doing a review of the literature, pay careful attention to the citations. That's the conversation you want to summarize with your literature review. Here's a quick look at how you can do citation tracking using Web of Science. Here's my results from my previous search in Web of Science for teen health promotion outreach over social media. And you can see automatically the results are sorted from publication date, most recent to oldest. What you want to look at here in Web of Science in particular is over here on the right, where it tells you next to each result, time cited. Now this first result is from October 2017, which is when I'm recording this video, so it hasn't been cited yet. That's natural. If you want, and what I would recommend that you do, is go up here to the top and choose Sort By, Time Cited, Highest to Lowest. So that will push the highest impact papers, the papers that have been cited many times, to the top of the list. Now, just because a paper's been cited a lot doesn't necessarily mean it's a better resource than a paper that doesn't have as many citations, but it's a good way to find the papers that have had the most impact on your field, on that topic that you're researching. So these might be articles you want to look at. They probably definitely are articles you want to look at and at least consider for your literature review. Article number 3, Online Communication and Adolescent Relationships, looks good. I can click on that article to see 65 cited references. So that'll be the reference list at the end of this article. I can see who they cited, and then I can click on 201 times cited to see those 200 people since that article was published in 2008 who have cited this article I'm looking at now. Now I did this using a keyword search that found 600 articles, but you can also just type in the name of an article that you've already found, especially if you're using, say, a conceptual framework or theory and you want to see examples of how that theory has been applied. Search for it in Web of Science and then see who cited it. Web of Science and Scopus will also display the top journals that publish on a search topic. After you search for your topic, click on Analyze Results to see a list of those publications. Once you find the names of the top journals or journal on that topic you're researching, you might want to go to that journal's website and flip through the past couple years of table of contents to see if there's anything you missed with your database searches. One indicator that you found, if not everything, then an indicator that you found most of the literature on your topic, is what we call saturation. So the idea is that you've reached saturation if you're searching in different places, different databases, and trying different things, different terms, but you're seeing the same papers and authors come up again and again. That's a good sign that you've done a relatively exhaustive search. You can probably stop searching and start writing. And finally, just to put in a self-plug, if you're unaware, unsure about your search, please feel free to contact me or another librarian, and we're happy to take a look at what you've done so far and maybe give you some suggestions. You can now proceed to the third and final video on evaluating and citing your sources.